And we're live. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you to everyone watching this back as a recording.
Yes, absolutely. So tonight we're joined by Tammy McColloch Rapon and Samantha Wilkinson. We're here to discuss the missing person case of Jared McColloch, disappeared November 5th, 2023. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I should say, Tammy, you're Jared's mom. So if you don't mind, kind of go into his childhood and who he is.
He was always like a small, scrawny kid growing up, kind of sickly, I guess, a little bit. But then after he got into his, I guess pre-teenage, yeah, that's Samantha and Austin and Jared.
That's me.
She was so cute. Yeah, he was so skinny and little and sickly for a good long while, but he grew into himself quite a bit, and he ended up playing football and basketball and every sport you could imagine, that he could try. He didn't like baseball too much, but we tried, I think, just about every sport we could.
Yeah, I meant to remind you guys that his picture would be on here as we talk, because I kind of feel like that took you by surprise, so I apologize.
No. I like
nice to see.
Yeah.
That's me too.
I was going to say, Samantha, see you as well?
Yep. Jared and I have always been thick as thieves. And you'll notice in probably all the pictures you have of him and I, he has a hand on me in every picture. He was always protecting over me, and nobody messed with me if Jared was around.
And we should say Samantha is Jared's cousin, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but they grew up more like brother and sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. No.
But please go ahead and continue talking about Jared, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I mean, he was like I said, he was sickly whenever he was young, and like in some of these pictures you see where he was still thin, but he got healthy again. He got doing real well and played football and basketball. Of course, basketball, baseball, none of that worked, but he found his place in football, and he really loved football, and he had a lot of close friends there that I still talk to a lot of. It became a group, like even with a lot of the parents there. I still talk to several of them because my younger son played football also, so it was kind of a family with the kids and playing.
Yeah, that tends to happen with sports and kids, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I remember Jared always had to have like a mixtape before his games, like you had to have songs to get you pumped up and ready to go, I still listen to some of those songs and stuff. You hear them and it makes you think of him.
So what was on Jared's playlist?
Oh my Lord, to be honest, what's that song called, Samantha? Because I had a Mustang at the time. It was a 4-door coupe, so it was nothing cool. But you get all these big guys that play football, and they're all defensive linemen. That all wanted me to drive them in that Mustang to their games. And what's that song called?
It's called Headstrong. I can't remember the band that sings it, but it's from when we was kids.
From the window to the wall.
Oh, no, you're thinking of the other one.
Yeah. It's that Get Low. It's that Get Low because it was
song.
They were defensive linemen, so it was that Get Low, that part because it was getting them pumped up. They had to get low on the defensive line, It's a little embarrassing for me driving all of them.
Yeah, I imagine. Right?
So what did Jared do after school? Like after he got out of school?
Well, unfortunately, when he was 16, our house burned down, and we were going through the process of that, and we stayed into a motel for a bit until we could find a rental house, and then after that, it was so hard for him. He lost a best friend, and it's so hard for the boys to see a house that they had grew up in. So I made the decision to move to Indiana, which I didn't stay there long, but just for, I think, what was it, a year, Sam? It wasn't long.
Yeah, it wasn't too long.
Yeah, because that wasn't just the right choice, to pick up and leave. So
we kind of moved around a lot in that couple, 2-3 years after the fire.
Yeah.
It was hard to find a place to settle again.
And it's hard. People don't realize how much a fire hurts. Like, you lose those Christmas ornaments that the kids made in school, and you lose baby clothes. You lose a lot of things that we kind of struggled for a bit after that.
And animals have always been so close to us in this family, and they even lost a few animals in the fire, and it was hard on everybody. It was bad.
And just another way of, as far as Jared being a protector. That night, of course, one of my awesome friends, she couldn't even tell you, but she knows. I'm sure she's listening. We'll just call her Dee Dee, and she knows what I mean by that. But she actually drove through a field to come out there, and we stood out there, and we went back to her house for a few hours and come back. That as soon as daylight hit, Jared's arguing with Austin, his younger brother, and telling him he's got to go to school. And I'm like, Jared, he does not. Why are you arguing with him? And I didn't realize, and they argued, and Jared made him. And Jared was still only, like I said, 16. I didn't realize until later that after we went through there, Austin's cat had actually passed away in the fire. Jared had already seen that, and then you could see the scratch marks on one of the walls that was still standing. So Jared wanted to bury the animals before Austin could ever see them.
Oh man.
I didn't even know that part until, after Austin went to school and he was explaining to me. That's just...
That's like real man behavior right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's so many pictures that I've seen of Jared with... There's so many pictures of Jared with his dogs too, which they play a part in this whole disappearance as well, right?
Yeah, those are his babies.
Yeah, Roxy was attached at the hip, for sure. Yeah. She has separation issues.
She still sits in that same chair outside now. Like, if I let her out, she'll sit in that same chair sitting outside.
So, if we could talk to things sort of, what happened with Jared? Jared has a kid as well, right? So, what led up to him sort of being in Indiana in the first place?
Okay, that I don't know as far as Indiana. As far as Sam originally talked to the mother of his child. His child's 14 now, and she originally is the one who was able to talk to her and get a little bit more details. And from what we were told was he came there because to see the 14-year-old who was actually in the Benton, Illinois detention center, which is now closed down. But that's all we know, and that's in Illinois, though. And I don't know what happened that got him to go.
Right.
Moment. All we know is what we are told on that, and that he was supposed to be in Illinois, not in Indiana. So that's what brings us all.
Yeah. It did make it a little confusing trying to research this, because there's some of the towns that were the same, and some of the news articles even said that he was in Indiana for some of this, and it was just at the end, right? It was Illinois for the last day that people sort of seen him, right?
We've got no proof that he was ever in Indiana, with the exception of the dogs in the truck being found there, and it's just across the state line. So we've got no proof at all that he was ever actually in Indiana.
Right.
All right, so
he was
November...
never on camera or anything in Indiana.
And to our knowledge, there's no phone pings off of any Indiana towers either.
No, there's not.
So November 5th, he leaves his house to come to go down and visit his son.
Actually, November 4th, because he left the
November
evening
4th.
Somewhere around 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was supposed to be staying the night at his ex-wife's, right? Or ex-girlfriend.
Well, ex-girlfriend. It had only been a few hours because they didn't get into town until what we seen was about 1:38 at the gas station there, not too far from our house. But in my theory, I kind of think it was 2:38, but we fell back at 2 a.m.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there was a time change, which also convolutes this whole story as well.
Right.
Yes.
So he drove down there. He never made it to the ex-girlfriend's home.
Not that we know of. If we did, we don't know.
Right. We do know that the first, where we really start tracking him in Salem, when he was there about 1:30 in the morning. Salem is only about 20-25 minutes away from Sandoval, which is where he was supposed to be going.
Not even that far.
So
Yeah, we can
I don't
see it here on the
know.
map as well.
Yes,
I find it
Sandoval. I
hard-
didn't actually have that. What was the
I
name of
find
that
it hard
town
to
that he
get
was at?
lost when you're already that
Sandoval?
close.
Yeah, it's right there to the left, Jeff. Right next to
Oh,
Salem.
right there. Okay.
Yeah, it's right there.
So this is where he was
Supposed to be
at.
going.
Yeah, supposed to be going. And at 1:30 in the morning, he was spotted here at Hicks in Salem.
In Salem.
Hucks, yes, and he was on camera inside of
Or
it.
Hucks, yeah. And then from there, he was spotted again at Phillips 66.
City.
But that's
Mhm.
4 hours later.
Right.
There's a 4-hour gap there.
Yeah. So there is a bit of a.
How do you drive lost for 4 hours in that small of an area? An
No.
area that Jared is semi-familiar with, because when we discussed this, his childhood and him playing football, they lived in Salem. That's where Jared spent the majority of his childhood years. So yes, he hadn't been there in probably almost 15-20 years, but things like that you don't forget when you live somewhere until you're 16 years old. I can still drive straight to the house that I grew up in, and I moved from there when I was only 12. So
They're saying on the chat line that they're having a hard time hearing us.
Oh. I'm not sure. Bad connection.
It's far too horrible to understand anything about this. Bad connection. Yeah.
I
can't
wonder if
figure out
it's.
what they're talking about.
I wonder if it's StreamYard is having a problem. Well, these usually do get recorded, so we can re-upload this if it does look bad. But I did have a problem connecting when I tried to start the live stream. I wonder if StreamYard itself is having a problem.
Is everyone still having the same connection problem? Are they able to hear us now, or are we still stuttering? Because who went from like 40 viewers down to 20 now?
yeah, let me see that.
Kathy says she can hear us good.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
it's just a momentary lapse there, so I apologize.
Or some of
Alright.
it could be Facebook having problems again too.
And Donald says it's good now, so we'll continue.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So from Salem to Central City is about a 20-minute drive. And
Right.
if you're going from there to
Sandoval.
Sandoval, if you go, it doesn't even look like you would have to go out of your way. You could go from Salem to Sandoval and still get to Central in about 20 minutes, probably, maybe 25.
You almost have to go to Sandoval first to get to Central City. Like, almost.
Yeah, it looks like this is probably the fastest route that Google's trying to show me, this blue line.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah, that's a main road that heads directly over to Sandoval and then down. So it seems more logical that you would take that route for most people, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, he does know the area too. So I mean, for him to be, which now she did say that he didn't say that he was lost until like later on. She's kind of like corrected herself on that, like at one of the last phone calls. But I mean, we still don't know what all the phone calls consisted of. So we still don't. How can in the world of video cameras? How can he not be seen for 4+ hours, depending on
Right.
Right.
We don't
I
know
was
if
just gonna.
All records and stuff, the time change can't follow that too well. So 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, and unless, of course, like the police weren't necessarily doing their job, not to shit on them, but if they're not looking into it, then they're not going to find anything, right? So.
Well, I was told by her herself that she's not been questioned at all. So, I mean, I guess I'm not.
And so then the last time that he was actually spotted was down here in Carmi
Yes.
at another Huck's. Is it a gas station Huck's or a convenience store type place?
Both.
It's a little bit of both. It's kind of
Okay.
like a Casey's gas station, if you've ever been in one of those. Like, you can get a little bit of groceries in there and snacks and gas.
Yeah, I think you guys have different types of convenience stores because I see Huck's is really popular in Phillips 66, and we have none of that around here. So yeah, it's different chain sort of areas, I guess. So that route from Phillips down to Phillips 66 to the Huck's in Carmi, that I think was like was it 80 something miles? I don't remember how much time that was supposed to be, but I mean that seemed like it
been over an hour.
Yeah, and if you look straight down south there in Benton is where his son is supposed to have been. You can see it
down
there.
here?
Yeah, that's where his son was supposed to have been. He's in that Benton.
Okay. So he for whatever reason skipped going to Benton and went over to Carmi instead.
Yes, I did get a screenshot as far as him in Carmi, and it was him. I mean, I know that, and he was okay, and I mean, he looked okay, but
he was alone.
As far as I know, they sent me they did send me a screenshot, and I'm thankful for that. But I mean, I can't really. And I've asked for the videos, but you know that's Knox County's call, and I'm not allowed to see them. Really, Salem Police Department was the ones who initially, at least, they would not send me the video or even a screenshot at the time, but they were the ones who actually described exactly what he was wearing, so I could put it out on a missing poster to try to say last seen wearing. Because I mean, obviously, I didn't know. And then several, I don't know, 2-3, my time plans anymore. 2-3 weeks later, one of the Carmine chief of police, he actually sent me a screenshot because I said unless I see him, I can't verify that it was him. I mean, so I got a screenshot that's
right.
Right.
And I've asked because if I could tell if I could see how he's walking, his body movements. I mean, I would know if he was upset. I know how he gets when he's nervous. I mean, I know his little, twitches. I mean, if you get nervous or upset, everybody's got their own little body movements. I could tell you that, but for whatever reason, they won't let me see any of that, and I don't know why.
I understand like some things, but that's something that at least just Tammy should have been privy to from the very beginning to verify.
At least to identify, right?
Right, to make sure it was him. And,
so then that was the last known sighting of him until they found his vehicle here.
Allegedly. Allegedly, because we've got we've had several witnesses come forward that have said that they've seen him in St. Francisville, Illinois, but we have no video proof of that.
Okay.
And what kind of? So did he have GPS in his truck, or was he using GPS on his phone?
We've got first off, there's GPS and there's OnStar on the truck, and the truck is in our name because Jared didn't have no credit. So everything's in our name, including insurance. But for whatever reason, we don't have access to any of that information. Even though it's in our name, Jared's name's not on it.
Well, it's weird if you had GPS that he's circling around different areas, not really sure where to go, or never actually made his final destination.
Exactly. Yeah.
And St. Francisville is also the last place that his phone pinged.
Okay.
Right. And that's why
Flowers said. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
That's why everybody kind of thinks that he went across that Cannonball Bridge. And Tommy, she's a sweetheart. She says food and fuel because we've seen like some of the receipts, and he did get both food and fuel.
Okay. So that was the last known ping for his vehicle and some supposedly sightings of him.
And that was at 10:08. The last time his phone pinged was at 10:08, if I get it with the right time and the right call. Or was it 11:08? 11:08.
If that's correct. I mean, and we don't know if it's Central, Eastern. I'm guessing it's
right,
Central.
and that's what I was going to say. That's where things get tricky once the very tail end of his phone record he's so close on the state line between Indiana and Illinois that it switches back and forth between Central and Eastern.
And
'Cause
was
when
that
I
AM or
went down-
PM?
AM
Oh,
AM.
Sunday morning. And as far as I seen that
Oh my gosh,
thing
you-
that popped up from Donald, he said OnStar can't track it. I did call OnStar. OnStar said that they can go forward, but they can't go back. And I did call GM as far as the mechanics and stuff there. They also said that unless an alert pops up, they don't have the equipment to be able to track it. Like say if it's like got an engine problem, then I guess the vehicle will hit that the mechanics in the GM shop can track it.
interesting.
At least
So
this
they
is what I'm
locate-
told.
They locate his vehicle. Now, was it on the side of the road? Was it in the field? Was it
On the side of the road.
And what condition was this vehicle in?
So his truck was found it was a 4-door truck, so it has back doors as well. And so the truck was parked passenger side along the river, driver side out to the road and the field on the other side of the road. And the front and back driver side doors were open. And the truck had been left running until it ran out of gas. And then because it was running and the key was in the on position, it stayed like that until the battery died. And his dogs
that's really
were there. Right. And his dogs were there with the truck and they had their leashes on, but they were not tied to the truck in any way. So like they could have gotten out or something like that. And I don't know if they got out and got back in or anything like that, but it's strange that they were right there in the truck and weren't out, because Rusty, especially, he's a known runner. If he gets out of the fence, you're going to have to go find him and catch him.
I was going to ask that. Like, if he was to say stay or sit, don't move,
No.
like, would they do that, or would they
No.
do whatever the hell they wanted to?
That's a big
they don't
question. We get asked that a lot. You know, Jared's dogs were house pups. They're spoiled. They don't listen, and they might sit for a treat if you're patient enough.
Now,
Yeah, they don't mind. And they were both in the back seat, which was odd. And, you know, what we are saying as far as the conditions and how the truck was found, all we know is what the detectives have told us.
Right.
We've not
We
seen
haven't
any
seen
pictures to
any-
verify that. And as far as being able to know as far as even who found the truck, we've asked several times as far as we were told 3 different stories. Once it was an oil worker, then it was the mayor of who's now resigned of St. Francisville, and then we were told a local citizen. So we've never even been able to speak to or know who actually found the truck to call it and report it. So we're only
did
going on what
Jared
we're told.
carry weapons with him at all?
No,
No.
he could. He was on probation. No, he wouldn't, and he didn't. No.
It's just weird that both doors were open,
Mhm.
Yeah.
unless I guess he stopped to let the dogs out, maybe to use the restroom. Or what do you guys think?
Know,
He wouldn't
well,
have left.
initially,
Go ahead, Sam.
okay. Initially, when I heard that the truck had been found and the dogs were there and he wasn't around, you know, I thought, well, maybe he pulled off the highway and drove out a couple miles to like a country area to let the dogs out to stretch their legs and something happened. But it wasn't until I drove down there myself and seen it, like, this is not a place where you would just pull off and let your dogs out. Like, you are miles and miles away from any main highway, let alone a town. Just the drive from St. Francisville out to where the truck was found takes over 20 minutes. It's about 25 minutes, I think. And it's like St. Francisville is a one stoplight town. Like, it's a tiny little town. It's not near any main highways of any kind. And I think I had hoped that he had just taken the dogs out, but the area just wasn't set up for that. And with being so close to the river, there's all kinds of places along the river where you can pull off, and there's scenic spots and stuff like that where someone would go if they were taking the dogs out for relief. But this was just on the side of a 1-lane gravel road. And by 1 lane, I mean you're going in the ditch if someone's coming at you and you have to pass them. Like it's practically a service road to all of those oil wells and stuff that are out there.
Crystal made a comment. That's what my husband does when he has to go to the restroom or to the bathroom. He opens up both doors, and I've seen that traveling down, the interstate. People do that.
I've done
Right. To walk you and stuff.
Jared wouldn't. I mean, to clarify, as far as even like the pen and stuff, and people questioned about the leashes, did he always keep the leashes on the dogs? Well, he did, because the fact that he would never keep both the doors open like that, because at one point the dogs he was traveling, I think, and I forget what even state he was in, but anyhow, the dogs got out, and of course, Rusty being a runner, they took off, and Roxy followed, and they ran into traffic. He was so scared and I mean, just terrified, that after that, he always kept the leashes on. So that way, before he even got out of the truck to even open up the back door, he had his hands on those leashes so they couldn't run anywhere, because they've been known to run off, and he just didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So the dogs were just sitting in the truck when they found it, right, with the doors open?
Yeah, yeah. And what they told me, because I'm learning to ask more questions, was that both of them were in the back seat, which is odd to me too, because Roxy Mania, as you can see in the chair, she thinks she's Queen Bee, and she's always a front seat dog. Now she's in that front seat. For her to be in the back is just weird.
Yeah,
Do you know if
sorry.
But do you know if did they do any sort of checking of the river at all for like any searching or?
Well, they showed, as far as on video, like I think it was the Friday or Saturday. After that, they put one of them submarine things we didn't know about until after we seen it on the news too. I guess one of those submersible, I don't know, sonar things. That's where they put a flag, and that's where everybody, like, in the area started searching that area, because they put a flag there. Because we all, myself included, assumed that that's where his truck was parked. Well, it wasn't. They put that thing in north of where the truck was actually parked. But I know they did it that one day. I know they've said they had DNR out there and stuff, but that's not what the locals tell me. They tell me they have. But then we had the river flooding out. It was too low at first because there was a drought, and then we just recently, I guess they had flooding, so then they couldn't get anything in there. The locals said they haven't really seen anybody out there searching.
Do you guys believe that Jared's the one who drove that spot, or do you think that someone else could have driven the truck? Because Crystal says if somebody stole the truck, maybe they just opened all the doors, hoping the dogs would get out, and then they wouldn't, or whatever.
Well, and that's what I was about to ask: is if the dogs be okay if someone else got in that truck and started driving it? Like how friendly are they to strangers, I guess?
Samantha, go ahead.
Yeah, they're road dogs. Jared took them everywhere with him, and he often went places specifically to take them. You know, he would take them out for a ride just because they'd been at the house all day. So they would have got in the car and rode with anyone. You know,
I hear the dog right on cue there. That was perfect.
Yeah, that's Roxy May is so loud. She got that squeaky loud, and she's outside, and you can still hear. She's so loud.
Now, did he know anyone in Francisville that you guys are aware of?
No.
Okay.
Not that we know of. I've tried to look and try to find any kind of connection. He really didn't. He didn't even talk to anybody in Salem since he was young. I mean, he really didn't keep in contact with anybody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it makes me wonder if, like, two scenarios. One is something happened, like outside of or near Francisville, right, and someone dropped off the truck. Or for whatever reason, if maybe he really had to stop where he was, maybe there was a hit and run. Was there any evidence of anything near that site that showed that, skid marks or anything?
No, nobody travels down that road. It's a 1-lane gravel road. You don't have people out there. A lot of you, even the locals, don't know about that road. I mean, his truck could have been there. I mean, if you think by the time the truck died, so it'd been there prior, and the phone last synced, you're talking 6 p.m. on Sunday. The truck wasn't found until 8 a.m. the next morning. And from what I understand, it's lucky that it was found then because those roads just aren't traveled.
Mhm.
So it kind of sounds more like the vehicle was intentionally abandoned to me.
Right.
From what
It's
we were told,
possible.
that happens a lot in that area, as far as because the states don't communicate well between each other, and because you're right across, you got Illinois and Indiana, you're right across state lines. So from what I've heard, there's a lot of like theft, vehicle theft, and things like that go on there. Thinking that they're not going to make a connection.
Does anyone know if this is a thing? Donald says OnStar could have record of the conversations in his cab. Do they record conversations?
I've heard that they do, but they don't, again, backdate it. I've also heard that if the phone's plugged in, if they downloaded the actual, what they call type of black box off the truck, that they should be able to get the information of whoever plugged their phone in to even get phone records.
I would assume that would be like a pretty massive invasion of privacy, though, if OnStar was recording those. They would probably have lawsuits if they were trying to do that. So,
And they wouldn't tell you.
as useful as it would be in this scenario, I don't know if they would or should do that.
I think that's more for like if you have an accident, sometimes those systems like that will start recording after an accident is detected.
Yeah, they'll have a small window they'll record before and after, like before something happens, they'll keep track of that.
Some of those systems like help you call 911 and call for help and stuff. But I don't think they're just listening and you can just go in and pull that anytime.
Is there any are you guys like looking at the ex? Do you think that she's telling the truth? Is she sincere about everything going on? Do you think she has anything to do with his disappearance?
Well, I would love to speak on that.
All right, that sounds good.
In my opinion, I think she knows more information than she's willing to give.
Which that's actually a fact now, phone records.
That's true, because we've got the phone records and we've managed to, you talk to people that know people and talk to other people. And I've even gotten screenshots of the conversation, what it looked like on her phone that she sent to other people that eventually got back around to me. And there are, compared to Jared's phone record, there are text messages deleted out of that conversation. So she deleted messages out of their conversation and then sent that conversation to other people trying to make it look a certain way. We have proof of that.
Including
and I just think
the detective.
So what was the conversation without going into detail? Was it like an argument going on, or is there
instructions of how to get here? Sending her address. Jared mentioned something about he had trouble with the fence that he brought for the dogs because he had the dogs with him. So he must have brought some type of fencing or outdoor kennel to keep them in or something, because he mentions that he lost his fence, like it fell off the truck or something like that. And sorry, I was getting a call. And then
that's okay.
But I feel like she knows more information, because her story to me was that at one point Jared was on the phone with her, and I'd like to add that day she was the only person that he spoke to on his phone record, the only one. So I feel like she has to at least know why he left her area, why he decided to go toward Indiana for whatever reason. I won't say that she is directly responsible or directly involved in Jared's disappearance, but I absolutely believe that she has more information that could at least be a little bit helpful that she's afraid to tell. I don't know if it incriminates her in some way or she's just scared, but I think there's more to tell for sure.
Did she have like another boyfriend now, a new boyfriend or whatever that's involved at the time in the picture?
Gossip and rumor around town is that she's runs with a few different men that, she's.
But I did talk to the one that was supposed to have been there that night, as far as whenever Jared was supposed to arrive there, and he too was talking about, and he kind of slipped up, and I'm listening to everybody and taking in all the evidence, and I know that he was driving another vehicle then, and he claimed that he was supposed to leave before Jared got there or before Jared did get there. I mean, he kind of corrects himself, so I don't know. He does admit, and he talks about how much he loves, the ex and things like that. And he did say that they were together at the time, and she was sitting right next to him whenever he was saying all this to me. So, because it was on video, but.
Yeah, and Jared weren't going to be there till 2 or 3 in the morning, so it's weird that he's going to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning to leave so that Jared can spend the night. Like, why wouldn't he just stay? If they're if everything's amicable there.
Right.
Yeah, the stories that were given from that side of things just don't really make a whole lot of sense, And
they said that those two went together to see the sun on that day. So, I mean, that's just coming out of their mouth. So, again, I don't know whether they did or they didn't.
Yeah.
So we did want to give a shout out to your page here. It's taking me a second to get it up. So this is you guys' page, Finding Jared McColloch. And so tell me about the creation of this. And you might have mentioned something earlier about maybe some people not being so happy about you creating it.
Right. So when this very first started, Knox County, which is where Jared's truck was found, and the department that is handling this whole case, they posted on their Facebook page that same picture that is on our Facebook page of Jared and Roxy, and they just listed his name, his age, his description, and labeled it as an attempt to locate. They didn't give any further information that, like, his vehicle was found abandoned. They didn't elaborate on anything. And I, of course, was watching that post from the start to see what local people were saying. And instantly, local people were worried because since Knox County didn't clarify, they were concerned because they wanted to know, is this person dangerous? Is that why we're attempting to locate him? Did he do something bad? Is he hurt? Could he be hurt? And Knox County just kind of seemed to paint this narrative of like, oh, we're just trying to find this guy. And it was like they just kind of wanted to keep it kind of quiet, and quiet was the last thing on my mind. So
absolutely.
But I think what worried Samantha too, though, was that people commenting on there were asking, well, is he wanted? Should we have our guns out? Should we be protecting ourselves? Is he dangerous? I think that's where Sam jumped into action, though.
Local people are literally saying, like, I got my gun with me just in case, do I need to be worried? And I'm like, oh my God, absolutely not. Like, I made the Facebook page and I made it public so anybody that could join. And I actually took the time to take people off of that initial Knox County post and invite them to the page that I made. Awesome. So that they could get proper information, because Knox County just wasn't putting any information out there except for the fact that what he looked like, and they wanted to find him. And it took off fast. We had, I think, over 2,000 within the first 2 days. And then we quickly jumped to like 5,000 and 6,000 people. And the detective in Knox County was not very happy with me because I was not very happy with them, and I was being vocal about it.
And you have every right to do that if you don't think that they're handling things properly. And if they're upset about it, then maybe that means that they should be doing something different, right?
Well, I think what started that was a phone call because, of course, I was calling Samantha and telling her everything because the detective wouldn't talk to anybody but me. But I told Samantha I was kind of crying, and I was like, well, he told me there's nothing they can do because they don't have any resources to go and search for him if he's in the river. And I was like, I can't stand for him to be in the river. They said they don't have no resources. And Sam went into action on that. And she didn't put him down. She was just asking for help as far as resources. Can we find anybody that can get in the river, can get a boat? Because that's what Knox County said. And they really did say that. Which is, it's not their fault what the department has or doesn't have. But, we just wanted to find him.
Kathy Bauer says that, I'm guessing she's talking about the ex-girlfriend, said that he told her he was lost. Is that what she told you guys too, that he called and said, I'm lost? Or texted her that?
That was her story to me, was that Jared was on the phone with her and he was being real quiet, and he was saying that he was lost, and she was telling him to just put her address in the GPS, and he just wouldn't do it. He didn't want to do that.
But when I talked to her that last time, she said it was the last phone call, like closer to the 11 o'clock is what she told me. But things kind of keep changing about each time. So,
and I would also like to add to that from that point on, from 1:30 in the morning on until 11, he was still talking to her on the phone. There's incoming calls from her that last a few minutes. There's multiple. So they were having conversations for hours that whole time.
So when was the truck found? It was like 8 a.m. the following day, so that would be the 6th?
Yeah, November 6th, that Monday morning.
And the last contact was around 11 a.m. on the 5th.
On Sunday,
and that's when
and
all
he should have been at her house around
stopped.
2:30, 3 o'clock a.m.
Right. But they
my
were
gosh.
still speaking to each other on the phone from 2:30 on till 11. She was his last phone call. She was the last person to talk to him.
But then the phone also didn't die, I think, until after 6:30, some point that we know of, because that's the last time his phone synced and around the time the battery on the truck died. But there were no more phone calls after that 11:08.
Yep.
So that's a weird
So
time
the
of
phone
day,
was still
too.
active for about 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
What day was that? Was that a Monday?
Yeah, Monday morning, the 6th. Yeah.
Yep.
Monday morning, 11 a.m. His phone disconnects.
No,
Oh.
11 a.m. when she called was on that Sunday morning.
Oh, Sunday
Yes.
morning.
At 11 a.m. on Sunday morning was his last phone call that actually lasted for a substantial amount of time. It was about 11 minutes, I think. And that was between him and her. And then his phone was still on until about 5, 6 o'clock Sunday evening. Like the battery was still charged because he was still receiving text messages from other people up until then.
And what was found inside his vehicle? His phone, his wallet?
No,
None of that was in the
Nothing.
truck.
no, everything was in the truck except for those things.
Yes. So his phone, his wallet, his coat that he was supposed to be wearing, those were all missing, not in the truck. But his luggage that he had packed was still in the truck. His grooming bag, his bag of clothes, all that was still in the truck.
Okay.
And his spare shoes. He had his work boots with him and his sliders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, as a guy, I carry my wallet everywhere, so I would think
Right.
he
Yeah, but
probably
I'm
would leave.
thinking about that though too. What
Yeah.
gets me to, like, even as far as finding the truck. Now, Jared, anybody who knows Jared doesn't drive the truck. I can't tell you how many times he's forgot his darn wallet or his phone because he doesn't carry stuff in his back pocket. He'll throw it in the the console or whatever, or throw it in the dresser. So I kind of find it odd that both his phone and his wallet are missing. Also, because it should have been on the console, and he's not going to, even if, let's say he got out to go pee or walk the dogs, he's not going to take that and let's put everything in our pockets. Jared's lost more phones than I can even count. I mean, this phone he just had since August because he can't stand the phone. He leaves it laying everywhere, and he just doesn't want anything to do with it. So
It was only a 3-month-old phone because he loses them so often to start with, right?
Right, and that's why he's got the cheap like Motorola phone, because he loses them so much and he doesn't care for it. But I mean, he wouldn't just pick up his phone and put it in his pocket to go walk the dogs. He'd leave it in the console.
And we have to believe, so if the calls around 11, phone power's done at 5.
I'd say
if he'd gone into the river,
it showed it last synced around 6:30, but it also shows the truck battery died around 6:30. So because we got that GMC app, so if the phone could have been on after the battery died or whatever. I mean, that's the last time it synced in the truck.
So say he accidentally fell in the river or something like that, that phone would have shut off then, right?
You would assume
Right.
so.
It wouldn't
So why
have.
would it
You
be?
would assume that it wouldn't have lasted very long in water.
And then we did get a hit on our email because the phone again was also in our name. He's on our plan. That extra $20 or whatever. but it was I think on the the SIM card request to activate on 11/22. Somebody had we got an email alert that said somebody had requested to activate a new SIM card on that line. I called the detective immediately, sent him the email. I called Verizon. Both of them said they didn't know what that meant or anything else, and we've never found out anything since. I've still got his phone active and on because I mean I don't
know what that means.
Yep, that's what they told me. I mean I don't know what it means because I'm kind of tech dumb, but
it sounds like someone was swapping out SIM cards and taking over the phone.
Well, that's kind of what I think too, but I'm kind of hesitated. I don't want to report it stolen because I'm, what if? I mean, that's
right.
Kathy Bauer says, "What's in his shoes by the truck and his boots were in his truck, which means he was barefoot."
Go ahead, Sam.
So we were told, well, I won't say we were told. We heard from other people talking locally that his shoes were found in the wood line between his truck and the river, because where it was, there's like the road and the truck's on the side of the road, and then there's like just a real thin, small, like thicket of a wood line right there, and then it drops off down to the river. And some local people were talking that his shoes were found in that shallow wood line. So Tammy just straight up asked the detective if they were, and he said yes, that they were found in the wood line there about 10 feet apart. His Skechers shoes.
Okay, that was a comment that was just on there too, saying his shoes were found 10 feet apart. That is so bizarre.
No one told us about that. No one from the police agency told any of us that.
We had to hear it through gossip and rumors. And that was that was hard because we were on our way back from getting the truck and the dogs. And I mean, I was kind of a mess because that puts a whole different spin on it, on things, for me. I mean, for him to be the shoes found that way, then I'm thinking, he's in the river and kind of like having a hard time with that.
Yeah, and that's a pretty massive river too, from the looks of it.
Did they do a dog search of the area? Like, did the dogs track him at all?
Well, depending on who you'd ask. I was told that they did, but I wasn't told until long after. But from other locals and dog experts that I do know, from what I understand, they only have what they call green dogs. So I guess they're like kind of in training. And so I was told that the dogs hit on his shoes and then hit on the river. But according to other dog people, including like we was talking about, Ronnie with Brothers of the Water, him and also Band Together K9, they know dogs, and they were explaining to me that you have to have a different dog for each thing, like a water dog, a cadaver dog, different dogs.
Yeah, trained for specific things. Yeah.
Right.
And from I understand, their dogs were labeled as green dogs, and they can't do those things because they're what you consider new, I guess, green.
Jeff, I have a question. Is there any way that I could pop out for just a minute and jump back in? I actually just had someone message me and tell me to call them with some important information, and I'm gonna see how important that is.
Yeah, you do your thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll hold down the fort.
I'll get back on in a few minutes.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
So, Donald, thank you for checking that. So he says Google says a Motorola phone will die after 0 minutes if underwater. So like almost instantaneously.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Especially since he didn't have a case on it. Yeah.
Right. Really bizarre.
Everything is so like the pattern of travel is really odd. I mean, they did see him on video camera, right? So that's obvious that he did that, but still, it seems weird that he was traveling around so many different places when he had somewhere to go, right?
Right.
And then for his vehicle just to be abandoned on a nondescript dirt road or one-way sort of road with his dog still in the vehicle.
Why be so secretive about everything? I mean, why do I got to hear through rumors about his shoes or or anything else. Why not include me into anything? You know, as far as like I said before, that if I seen him on video and knew the way he was walking or acting, I would know. You know,
Right.
and how the dogs were even positioned in the truck, I could know.
Well, and that's the thing, is because this isn't being investigated as a homicide, right? It's just a missing person, so there's no reason to not give you guys information.
Okay, I'm going to be contrary for a minute, as my husband tries to claim it. Missing person, because I insisted it to be a missing person and we pushed for it. Now, it's been out there because I'm already banned from their site, Knox County Sheriff's Office, but I'm not a big fan of the sheriff's, and he's not a big fan of me. But he never spoke to me on any of this. And I finally have only talked to him one time, and that was for a few minutes. And that's after, and Detective Carr was actually sitting right there. You know, and he went on the news and made it more like Jared was on the run and a dangerous felon. He never even spoke to me at that time. And every information, every bit that he gave was false and incorrect. And the reason why I'm banned off their site, and I was nice about it, and I did screenshot it, and I was very nice about it, and I asked him to please go publicly and on the news like he did originally and apologize. I mean, I've got proof that he lied in there. So, I mean, just apologize. I mean, Jared's most likely in heaven, but still, I mean, I'm a big researcher as far as family history goes. I don't want his grandkids to look up, you know, how many years later and say, well, look what my grandpa did, because this is still hanging around the internet.
Yeah. Kathy asks, have any flyers been put up around the racetrack in Indy?
I have no idea.
And then Crystal says, I guess what it comes to is, would there be any reason to fake his own disappearance? If not, were the dogs scared so they stayed in the truck?
I can't think of any reason to fake his own disappearance. And Jared's mom dependent. I mean, he would never go without talking to me.
I meant to ask that earlier. Like, it seems like he's very family orientated. He, you know, loves being like. It doesn't seem like this is probably nothing that he's ever done before. Is like even disappear for like a couple weeks, right? Like, I'm assuming you guys have always known where he is, what he's doing.
And especially after his brother passed away. I mean, we don't ever go a day without talking. At least on text message, there's always a good morning, Mom, I love you. Good night, Mom, I love you. And it's always the I love you more. I mean, it does not happen.
Right. And then Tony says, a question for Tammy, was Jared an authorized user, and did he know the PIN number to the Verizon account? That goes back to the SIM card.
No, he was not an authorized user. As far as the PIN number, he probably wouldn't remember it. I think we've given it to him before when he's had phones swapped, you know, at the Verizon store, changing them like 900 times, like you said before. But he's not an authorized user. Anytime they had to do that, they always had to call me, and I had to talk through the phone or whatever.
And I hate to even have to ask you this, but Tammy, was there any blood evidence found at the scene, like any sign of dress from Jared?
If there was, they didn't tell me.
Which would be like it. You would assume again that that's something that they could tell you, because again, like, but it's not being investigated as like a homicide, it's just a missing person, right?
I've never even known the exact location of the truck. So I mean, what would they tell me if they can't tell me exactly where the truck was in the beginning?
That blows my mind. And you said that you're like banned from their site, like you're not allowed to send them emails or.
Oh no, I guess if you go on Knox County Sheriff's Department on Facebook, it's their Facebook site.
Yeah.
I made a comment on there, and I'm just asking them to please apologize, and I blocked or whatever. Yeah.
See that? No, I think that to me sounds like a big violation, because politicians have been sued for blocking people. If it's the official Knox County Sheriff's Department,
it is.
You should absolutely.
I discussed that with the detective, and people messaged me, and I did file a report with that link that one of our followers had given me, and I did file a report, but because I did have a screenshot of it, and I was nice, I wasn't rude, and I said please. I mean, I wasn't being mean.
Yeah. And either way, it's a sheriff's department. The sheriff's department is one of the few, like, how do I say this? They're one of the few people that are supposed to uphold the Constitution, right? And like the free speech is one of the most important things. So them barring you
Absolutely.
from speaking to them, even on a platform like Facebook, is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I am appalled that is even going on.
Yeah.
Terry Staples says, has the family considered a private investigator?
We have, but everything that I've been told, from what I'm doing, I'm the one talking to people, and I'm the one who's doing the research. And the private investigator, from what I've told, can't get anything more than what I've already gotten. I mean,
well, and here's the other thing: is families try to hire a private investigator, so they create a GoFundMe page to try to help pay for the private investigator, and then all of a sudden people think, oh, well, the family's just out for money, and
right, and that's why I have not, and I will not do any kind of GoFundMe or anything like that. And I did, unfortunately, I've got a cousin who went through the same scenario, and her daughter had went missing, and they found her a good while later, and she unfortunately was deceased. But she's kind of given me, she said a private investigator didn't find anything more than what she did, just cost her a whole lot of money,
Well, maybe if they won't talk to you, maybe Samantha can file a Freedom of Information Act because it's a full request, because it's a non-murder investigation or homicide investigation. Maybe they will release some more information.
Well, I do think that Marissa with the Vantage podcast, I do think that she filed one, and she got a thing back from their lawyer, and was supposed to disclose some. You have to ask her the specifics on that, because I don't know if she's heard back. But they were supposed to give her what information they could by the 6th. And to my knowledge, they said that nothing was going to be released because it was an active investigation. But again, those are she's the one who talked to them and filed that paperwork, so she's the one who could better tell you what she got in return.
What's funny is they always tell families, like, oh, he's an adult, he's allowed to disappear if that's what he wants to do. But yet clearly they think something else is going on, because they're not going to release any evidence or any files.
Well, my deal is they say it's an active investigation, so what are they actively doing?
And why would you want to hide details of this? You're trying to find someone who has been missing, not that they've committed a crime. But oh my word. So yeah, we're definitely gonna give them a call tomorrow and see what they have to say about this.
I just want to know honestly what they are actively doing. If they're not actively doing anything, that's fine, because I'm talking to people and I've got like several different, I don't want to say leads, but people are talking to me and giving me more information. But here's another good question for you, okay?
Yeah.
While I'm kind of in my a fit. So over the weekend, which mind you, remember the detectives and the sheriff, they only work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, so you can't get a hold of them in between. But over the weekend, there was a body found in the Bloomington area, Monroe County, which is north of there. It's about an hour and a half. But as a mom, they're saying skeletal remains, and the worst things go into your head. So then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, how does that work? Because now we're most likely looking at recovery. So what about dental records? What about x-rays? Why haven't they asked me for any of that? Because as weird as I am, but kind of because of football, Jared's broken a couple of bones and had to go to orthopedics. So I had the x-rays with him, back in his football days. And I still have the x-rays in my safe back at home. Why have they never asked me about broken bones or dental records or anything like that to help identify in that situation? I mean, and I did ask him, and he said that they don't, and they'll get them when needed as far as from the dentist. But how does he know what dentist he even went to?
And those remains were from a female, right? Isn't that what they came up with just recently?
I think this is that was a different one, because I just seen that today. But this one was, I don't know that they've given much information. This one was at that Monroe County Airport, I guess, outside of Bloomington.
How far away is that from his truck?
The locals there have to tell you. I'm not familiar with the area. I think maybe an hour and a half, maybe. They could better tell you, because honestly, a lot of them have been a godsend to me, because I don't know the area. They've kind of helped me maneuver through all of it.
So this is for Robinson Jewers. I believe this is his sister. She said, absolutely, I know the feeling, and we spoke with them in person initially, then it's thrown out. Like, the police just don't care. I don't understand it.
Well, if they're not going to investigate it, fine, because nobody's going to be held accountable. Give me all the information. Give me everything that you have, and let me investigate it. So then maybe I can get some boats on the water. Maybe I can find him, because that's all I want. I want to find him. Then I'll hold somebody else responsible, whoever is responsible, if somebody is. But somebody's lying and something led him there, but I want to find him first.
So, what if I could just ask a question real quick? So I'm trying to look up the Knox County Sheriff's Department on Facebook. All I'm finding is Knox County Police Department.
No,
Is it
there's
an
not-
actual?
Yeah, there's an actual, unless they took it off, because I kind of complained to the sheriff about it yesterday. I don't know, Kathy or Janera, one of them, I know they could probably tell you. I mean, there's an actual Facebook site. It's Knox County Sheriff's Department.
So I do have some comments in the section here. Were they looking for him? Was police looking for him for a warrant or anything like that you're aware of?
No, not at that time. No. He did get in a little bit of trouble or whatever in Louisiana, but that was supposed to be dismissed. So they issued a warrant on November the 17th for failure to appear for an arraignment. He was on bond, but he was doing good. It wasn't no big deal. It was going to be dismissed, but he was out on bond.
And then Janera Boomershine says active investigation, but no updates to public. The news and the sheriff said Jared is wanted. Call if located. Do not approach. So how is it different than the attempt to locate on November 6th? They aren't giving more info out. Yeah, they're like really shit about everything.
Right, because what he did in the middle of December was he tried to say, because Jared was on probation, and that's what everybody keeps bringing up. We'll say parole. Jared messed up years ago, and he spent 5 years in prison, and he was on supervised release from there, and he got out in November of 2018. And he was due to get off of probation, supervised probation, parole, whichever you want to call it. I don't know the difference. But he had to meet with him every month. He was doing good. He was set to get off November the 17th. I thought it was the 18th, but his probation officer actually called me on the 26th of February to let me know that she was going to have to file a revocation to revoke on him for absconding, because he didn't show up for his last probation meeting, because obviously he's missing. But he was
Tony.
You do 5 years and then 5 years supervised parole, where you have to meet with this man every month, get drug tested, follow the line, do everything right and proper, and you're getting done with it and getting written off of it and being free from it on November the 17th, and you're going to come up missing. And that what the sheriff said and what they said is why I asked for the apology, because the sheriff put that out there, that he was on the run from the law and dangerous, because that he was wanted as far as the parole violation. The parole officer called me to give me a heads up on February 26th that she was going to have to violate him. So what the sheriff said back in December was a complete lie to the public and to the media. That's why I publicly and politely said please and wanted an apology, because that is a falsehood. It's and then you can look it up in the internet world, as far as whenever it was revoked.
And Tony makes a good point. You can't appear in court when you're missing.
Right.
So court was in Louisiana after he went missing, so a warrant was issued for his arrest. Yes, he was supposed to show up in court, but he's been missing for several weeks at this point.
Right. Which they told me that's all standard procedure. They don't have a choice,
Oh, standard procedure. Yeah, they're a little bit of common sense goes a really long ways.
And they actually mailed the warrant. I've got it here. I mean, I got the warrant. They mailed it. It's just failure to appear, and it was a arraignment hearing. He hadn't even have a lawyer yet. It's not like he was going to go to jail. It's just go in there and plead guilty or not guilty.
Welcome back,
Jeff,
Samantha.
Jeff, I think
Sorry.
I think Kathy wants you to call the station. If you want to pull them up, we'll call them live on air here.
I'm willing to do it. No, I have their Facebook up. I have their phone number up here. I'm going to call them. They're probably not open right now, but
no, they close at 5.
Right. No, they're getting a phone call for sure, and maybe they'll block me from the Facebook page too.
Hi.
All right, Samantha. What's the update?
Any update for us, or
is it the cat's ass?
It's not for you guys. It's not for you guys. It's something that I have to share privately with Tammy before we can talk about it with anyone else. Yeah. But
I figured.
Okay.
Yeah, her for trying.
It did seem kind of important and pertinent, so I will say that. So me and you definitely need to talk ASAP. outside of
So
this
then you
live.
want to wrap up.
Yeah.
soon.
We're at about that time, anyways. I think we've
Okay.
covered a lot of stuff. And like I said, definitely, I'm going to be making a phone call, and if I can get anything out of it, we record all that stuff. I have to find out about the single party consent laws for recording in Indiana, but I'm assuming it's okay.
I know in our state it's just one party.
Yeah, we can record
the
any
word.
conversation without the other person knowing. But I mean, I would let them know that it's recording anyways. I don't think it'd be a secret, considering it's technically, as weird as it sounds, it's a media call. So we technically work for the media, Travis, if we make a phone call like this.
Well,
But
we're volunteers for the media because we're not getting
See if
paid.
she ever heard back as far as that disclosure letter. I haven't talked to her since last week, but she still keeps in contact. But I don't know if she's heard back on that disclosure.
So Heather, I apologize. I'm not going to try to slaughter your last name, but Heather has a question. She said, did he have to get permission to leave the state to go down and see his son?
Yeah, he should have. So I don't know what caused him to leave so quick and in such a hurry, and why you did it tail end. That again, I can't explain, because he was just here at the end of October seeing us. So, and he had travels from to come here, so something must have happened. You know, to get
So
him.
justice
And I
for-
know that if he was told that his son was getting hurt or abused, which that from what I understand, that detention center is closed now due to things of that nature, then he would go running to try to help his son. I mean,
Yeah.
Justice for Rob Morrison Jewers page. They said, I wish you all luck in locating him. We'll keep you all in my thoughts and prayers. Thank you for sharing.
and I'm sharing also the link again to everyone. Go, follow their page as well. And if you guys have any more stuff that you want to send to us to post out there, absolutely. Any updates, let us know. We'll definitely keep sharing anything that we get from you guys. But
and real quick to end this also, to Band Together K9 is doing another search this Saturday. So they're looking for any help and any volunteers. It's all listed on our Facebook page, so anybody who's able to come out and help, they can.
Right.
Awesome.
And I wanted to add to, like, if you're new to the Facebook page, when you get there, if you look at the pinned post up at the top of the page and kind of take the time to go through those before reading the newest stuff on the page, it'll really help nail down a good timeline so you can read it and really get an idea of it. And there's a lot of common questions that we get that are answered in a lot of those pinned posts. So take the time to go through the pinned post first, and then go through and look at the most recent things that we've been doing and got going on.
Yeah, I see that on a lot of pages where people ask the same questions that have been answered 100 times. So that's good. That's smart of you guys.
Yeah.
And you guys have been at this now for November 5th. What are we now? March?
Day,
yeah, 4
day
months.
129.
So you're still new at this yourselves, and you're doing an excellent job getting his name out there and his story out there. And we commend you, and we hope for the best. And hopefully Jared will be found very soon.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight and listening in, and definitely share this out to get this story spread as far as you can. Because like up here in the Northeast, like it's not something we're even aware of, but like we were saying earlier, you guys have done a really good job of spreading this yourselves. But you can't do it without the help of people watching as well and paying attention to this stuff. So
Rachel says, my wife and I are planning on joining the search this Saturday. And
awesome.
Thanks for sharing. Don't forget Jared.
Thank you.
Don't forget Jared. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and thank you guys very much for joining us tonight. It's been awesome.
Yes, thank
you so much
for having us and helping us get the story out there even more.
Oh, absolutely. Anything we can do, guys. All right. Well, good night to everybody. All right. Bye.